Twitter, I think, benefits by far by getting money at all for something that has to constantly change to be able to stay relevant. But is this a good deal for Elon?
It's a fantastic deal. So
Why?
so there's a lot to this. I just pulled up monthly active users in 2021, and the link is backlinko.com. Twitter users. It says that there's 396.5 million monthly active users. Um, so that's basically let's see. So that's basically like users that are active in a given month on the Twitter platform. So basically, kind of the population of the United States. And it's interesting with it because when, Facebook, Twitter, these companies really came out, there wasn't a way to necessarily value them as a company. So PricewaterhouseCoopers came up with this metric to value basically pre-revenue or early revenue tech startups that were in the social media space, and it was called monthly active users. So this is a big deal, and it's you can kind of think about it. So Netflix, for instance, they just had pretty poor earnings. Part of that was affected by their loss of a subscription base because of having to pull out of Russia, but they are a subscription business. So you pay basically a monthly fee times the amount of subscriptions, and that's their revenue. PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is a consulting and accounting firm, came up with this metric where they're like basically saying, this is kind of a dollar per user that your company is thought to be able to generate in terms of value each month. So this whole monthly active users metrics really became popular, and it became a mechanism for companies like this to go public with little or no revenue, essentially, which is for cash losing tech companies. You can only do so much with private money before you go public. So there are a lot of users, but I'm not an active Twitter user, but I think I still have an account out there. But from what I hear, there's a lot of bots. So it's interesting in many ways. Like, I think on one hand, this is going to make Twitter as a usable product for people a lot better, because now that they're going to be a private company, you can basically get rid of all those bots with AI tools to just cancel out the scammers without having to essentially destroy this monthly active user statistic that would in turn, trash the stock. And I think that's kind of one of the interesting things is Facebook, Twitter, they need bots to basically keep their valuations up, because how many how many people are actually interacting with real people on there? Like, nobody really knows. So I think it's a really, probably a good thing for the customers, like the users of the platform. And I think it's a really good thing for Elon Musk too, from a financial perspective. So like with a lot of big businesses, you really kind of evaluate the businesses on a kind of a revenue per head sort of comparison, where it's like, I add another employee, they generate X amount of revenue. And that's a good way to kind of like keep your business in line, your headcount in line with your revenue potential. Twitter is extremely bloated, and it's kind of known as a bloated company. like right before we got on here, I pulled up their revenue and their headcount, and revenue was 5.07 billion in 2021, last full year's earnings, and their headcount is 7,500. So that works out to, let's see, um, about 677,000 per employee, which seems like a lot, but you have Google, for instance, and I think Google's over 2 million per employee. So you have to assume that a lot of these bot users are going to be gone, and there's going to be basically probably a better way to generate revenue, ensuring that they're actual real users for advertisers and such. But with that too, who knows, right? It's probably 50% of the employees are going to eventually be laid off from there. And you just really think about, so if they cut out 50% of the employees, then they're basically generating 1.2, 1.3 million per employee at that sense. And let's see, I don't know what their profitability was, but so net income's way down. Operating income was 272 million. So basically all that savings is going to go to the bottom line. And Twitter, they'll be private, right? So nobody's really going to know how much they're going to be making, but it's an interesting thing because you have, unlike, so a lot of people are kind of criticizing it because it's kind of communication news platform, so to speak, and comparing it to, Jeff Bezos owning the Washington Post, or Mark Benioff owning Time Magazine, or Lorraine Powell Jobs owning the Atlantic. But it's really kind of it's an interesting thing because unlike those platforms that have the brand name, there's like this whole technology ability to unlock a lot of profitability into it. So for Elon, it helps him build out this legitimacy as kind of a free speech warrior too, and it's something that he uses very well. But there's a lot of profit potential in there, and that's not really being talked about, I feel, from what I've been reading lately. It's really more of a culture war discussion rather than Elon Musk has the ability to buy this iconic property and treat it like you would a turnaround private equity like situation where you cut the fat and unlock its true profit potential.
I did find the reference I was looking for.